Oh, fuck. We were talking about the state of things for both of our selected MMOs and how they're both inevitably going downhill in terms of player base and quality of the game in general.
Yeah, the lifespan too.
Yeah. Because that's one of the, yeah, the lifespan. That was one of the things, I did go and record the dialogue for, that particular character that I was referring to, and then I went into like a 80-minute rant shortly afterwards, because it actually pissed me off.
Mm.
It actually made me angry talking to that character, because it was very clearly dialogue that was made for something else that they put here because they had already recorded the voice lines, and they said, why not? It'd be a fun little Easter egg for people. But it's like, this ain't an Easter egg, motherfucker. This is the main quest character that you're throwing into an event for no reason other than just cause. You know what I mean? Like, that's so fucking bizarre. And I might need to go and record that dialogue again just with no commentary, because apparently it just doesn't exist on YouTube, at least as far as I can find. So for
Mm.
posterity's sake, completely, I might actually just upload it as is.
Yeah.
Obviously, I'm going to have my original version. I'll put that up there. But I do want to have just a regular, no commentary, unedited, like, here it is.
Yeah.
You know? Because I feel like that's actually important. Because the fact that that just doesn't exist for a limited time thing that people will absolutely miss. Because even the unofficial Elder Scrolls pages had an error. Or as far as I know, it was an error. Because one of the dialogue choices that it says that our character says is just not what it actually says in game. And I'm like, how'd they fuck that up? But it could be that maybe that's what it said the first year, because I didn't even see her the first year. So it might have been something that was initially fucked up and could have led to or been hinting at initial plot lines that got scrapped, but certain things were already present in the game. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
none of it really made sense because the character is clearly emulating their 2014, 2015 version of themselves, you know, the base game character, whereas she's in her modern outfit, right? She's in her 2016 to 2023 outfit, where it's like this character is now someone completely different. That's something that's been happening with a lot of characters in this game, is that whenever they come back in a DLC, they're basically a different fucking person. Whatever character they had built up, you can forget it. It doesn't matter. Because they're just going to be someone else entirely the next time you see them. And that's why I was like, this is super inconsistent. Like, why is she acting like it's been 5 years ago? You know what I mean? When it's not. I don't know if this is the case, but I'm assuming Destiny is the same way, where
Yeah.
characters
It's
will just act very differently upon the next time you see them because the story demands it.
that's what's going to
Is
be
that
weird with Cade.
yeah, that's what I'm because that's one of those things where it's like, boy, I sure hope they don't fuck that up. Because I don't want to have the same hyper cynical take that I Hate Everything had when he said, yeah, they did this with Cade last time, they were bleeding numbers and in a lot of trouble. They decided to kill him off to bring everybody back because they knew it would work. It would garner a lot of attention. And now they've dragged his corpse back out and they're puppeteering it because they're bleeding numbers and they need to garner attention. Every time they get in trouble, they just bring Cade back out because Cade is what works. People like Cade. Bring him back, people will come back for Cade. I don't believe that's the case because I remember when Cade was killed off, I think it was actually because they couldn't afford Nathan Fillion anymore. We have to kill him off, and also we have to replace him with Nolan North in order to kill him off, because Nathan Fillion didn't even want to come in to do the lines to have him die. That's the other question. Is Nathan Fillion going to redub those lines? Or are they
Right.
still going to
Yeah.
be Nolan North lines? Because that is something that ESO at least actually does. Is whenever they recast a character later on, like for instance, any of the Daedric princes, once they become bigger players later on with real proper voice actors instead of just the basic cast that the game came with, they will go back and redo their lines. They did it with like the three princes so far that had that treatment done. And it's so much better. And it's also super noticeable too, where it's like, oh, those are new lines, because that does not sound like a base game thing, but it also feels more appropriate. So
I
if they
think
do bring Nathan Fillion back, I would hope they would go back and redo those lines. But I don't even know, is Forsaken even fucking playable still?
it is. It is. You can still get
Okay.
it. Um, so the thing with fucking oh my God. Hold on. Uh fucking LeVar Burton.
Where's my iconic slave role? With Zavala. Yeah, fuck. They can't replace him. They
So
have to
that's
kill
the
him.
thing. I think with that, him being out of the picture per se,
They could probably afford to have Nathan Fillion come back because Zavala was also a big money sink.
and it could be an homage as well. Like could be a throwback kind of deal.
Right.
Like a reminisce. Pitch.
Yeah, I'd be shocked if they didn't do something to actually honor him and remember him. You know what I mean? They would have to at this point.
Yeah.
So I guarantee you they're also probably rushing to get that done, unfortunately. Which is something
Mm-hmm.
I think they should probably take their time with something that important, because that is important. That's probably more important than actually nailing the DLC, is making sure you don't, send Zavala out in a really dumb, stupid way, but also like giving him the respect he deserves, especially now that he's actually gone.
Yep.
Um, yeah, that's kind of important. How many people are on? Cyrodiil, Peninsula. Okay, most of these people are doing stuff in the DLC that
It's
I can't do.
always it always gets very interesting at the end of a game's life.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
feel it in the
There's,
air.
cause, yeah, oh, for sure, right? Like when we were playing Halo Reach, towards the end of the game, like you could feel it, right? There's less people playing, you're running into more of the same people over and over again, but there's also this sense of like, man, it's almost over, you know? But I
Mm-hmm.
think the difference with both of these instances here, right, is that these are MMO games, right? These are games that we've sank a lot of time into because they've been around for effectively 10 years, both of them. Um,
Yeah.
and like with Halo Reach, it was like what we spent a year, 2 years max on that game. It, believe me, those were some long 2 years. They felt like long 2 years, those particular years. Because there's so much stuff I did on Halo. I probably did more stuff on Halo Reach, like socially, than I did in any other game. And I think it's just because I was less afraid. You know what I mean? Like, there was less, oddly enough, there were less means of fucking tracking you down afterwards in order to to just be anonymous, and now it's like,
Oh yeah.
even in a game as big as ESO, like, people will remember you.
Oh yeah.
People will recognize you, right? Because not everyone's playing on character names like me. Most people are playing with gamer tags so that they know who the fuck they're talking to. And, you know, that's the scariest part to me, because, like, I don't pay attention to that stuff. Or, like, the big slime over here, right? This motherfucker. I've run into this guy so many times, especially in PvP. I've seen the big slime, right? And you know, I laugh because that name's hilarious, right? The big slime. What are you? You're such a fucking slime. I laugh at that because someone called me that at work because I did something funny. But
I vaguely remember you saying that.
Yeah, I broke a ping pong table.
Yeah.
Called me a fucking slime.
Behind your back.
No, to my face. To my face.
Is that what happened the next day?
I don't know. It's been... All I remember is that he properly confronted me on it and chastised me for it, and I was like, look, man, that thing shouldn't even have fucking been here to begin with, bro.
Was that about a year ago?
That was like a year ago. He actually did throw like a public yelling fit at me like a month or two ago for a mess that took 30 seconds to clean up that he had made. And I'm like, alright, bro, whatever. You want to throw a fit? That's fucking fine. I got more important things to be doing.
Chill, bro.
He's probably just on edge because he knows he's on the chopping block.
Probably just on acid.
No, I think he's just on Adderall. There's a difference.
Yeah, that could be bad.
But that's off topic. That's off topic. But what the fuck were we talking about? Oh yeah, Big Slime. Yeah, like you run into those people. You know, you'll remember those people. You'll see those people. Like what? We go to Riften. Those people that we saw at Riften before.
Yeah, we remember that motherfuckers.
They're still fucking there. Dragonborn Polo. He's still fucking goofing off around there. He ain't got nothing better to do. He's just running around trying to duel motherfuckers. He tried to duel me on my PvP character, and I just, yeah, he's just straight up goofing.
Boot goofing.
Yeah, regular boot goofing.
Quick work of me. Don't let the gate trouble you. I'll pass through and open it from the other side.
Bruh.
Look for a hidden switch. I'll try to catch up.
Bitch, are you fucking serious? You're fucking kidding me. God damn it. Holy fucking hits.
The harder you strike, the farther it goes.
Pick me up. Son of a bitch.
And I'm assuming in Destiny it would be the same way, but I feel like in Destiny, like what I remember, it was very hard to keep track of the same people. Because
oh yeah, there's no way.
Yeah, because the instancing in the tower is so specific, you know what I mean? And not just the tower, but in all of the hubs.
Yeah, and they're small.
Yeah. They're small, there's only a handful of people in them, and you almost never see the same person twice, especially in the actual overworld. Whereas with ESO, it's
Yeah.
like I've run into Grum like 3 times over the course of 4 years.
Grommet?
You know what I mean? No, Grum. Uruk Grum. I've ran into that motherfucker 3 times over the course of 3 years. I've run into Led Zepp fan for 5 years, right? And he's very recognizable. And it's funny because like you don't think about it too much, you know, when it's happening. But like, you know, you're seeing these people so often, like almost comedically so, where it's like, man, what's up with that? How many people are actually playing this game? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's one of those things I've wondered about. Hell, there was even that one guy, remember? In Fallout when we were playing 76. And we were streaming it the first time we started streaming 76. And that guy managed to find us not once, but twice. What are the fucking odds of that happening?
True.
Like, that's crazy. How low is the player base that you're running into the same guy twice? Now, he could have just been stream sniping. I think that's probably what it was more than anything.
Yeah, that was weird.
Because he was, like, actively watching the stream. I don't mind, necessarily. You know, that's like, whatever. In a co-op thing, that's, you know. Because, like, the people that are playing 76 are actually so fucking bored that they have nothing else to do other than help people that are, like, just getting back to the game.
I know.
It's so bad now, actually, they're putting a donations box right in front of the 76 starting point.
Really?
Yes. Yes. It's fucking hilarious.
Is it though?
I mean, it's hilarious. I think it's actually a good idea, because, well, I say it's a good idea. It also is just going to make absolute grifters like me walk in the donations box and just pillage the whole fucking thing for whatever it has.
Yeah.
Problem is, the donations box is probably going to be full of, like, level nothing stuff, so it might not actually be worth pillaging. The only thing I'd be pillaging it for would be plans. Plans are extremely valuable to me. They're extremely valuable to most people. But it would also mean that I would have a place to dump a lot of the plans that I have that I'm not necessarily using. Like, I have a lot of holiday plans that I don't touch, and I can just dump them off into there. 76
Well,
is another
always
game
good
that's
to
on
dump.
the verge of... Yeah. 76 is another game that's on the verge of death as well, and you can feel it. Because there's no talks or nothing about new content, with the exception of Atlantic City. But with Atlantic City, it's like, what are we even excited for? We don't even know what it is. You know what I mean?
It's probably something stupid like they just put out.
Yeah. Oh, you mean the Blue Moon thing? No.
Yeah.
The werewolf stuff is pretty dumb, though. Like, there's no reason for that to exist. Like, genuinely. It's such a weird pull. Because that's not an Appalachian thing. Werewolf is just actually a generalized thing. So it's weird that they chose to put that in before anything else.
Well, they did.
Yeah. And, like, story-wise, right, like, for Destiny and for Elder Scrolls, right, like, there is a logical endpoint for these things, right? Like, Bungie keeps saying it'll be the end of the what did they call it? The Light and Dark saga?
Yeah.
It's like, the fuck do you mean, dude? That was the story. Like, that was just the story of Destiny. That's not the Light and Dark saga. Like, that was the plot of the game. And I can understand, like, them wanting to try to maybe move away from it, maybe do something more personalized, but, like, how do I put this? The storyline of Destiny is a lot like the Marvel Cinematic Universe, in the sense that every area, every planet, right, and every planet story is like an individual movie in the cinematic universe, which is only loosely connected to the rest of the plots based on the fact that it's in the Destiny franchise. Where, and this is only really regarding the DLCs, I would say. Like, obviously, the planets in the main story have to do with the main story, but that's not even in the fucking game anymore. So I wouldn't even know what to compare it to necessarily anymore, because I didn't play any of the stuff after that. The only part of the game I played isn't in the game anymore.
Right.
But basing it on that, it's like, all of these DLCs are like, you know, movies that are loosely connected. The only connecting tissue is, like, every now and then you'll get a little Easter egg hint at the darkness is, you know, look at the little triangles. Oh, it's the Watcher, the Listener, the fucking,
Well,
the Witness, that's his name. Yeah, like, whatever.
about 2 years ago, I think it was, there was a small mini event that took place. It was live. It took place live during all the tower instances. It was, I was not there for it. I didn't even know it was happening. But, it was a crazy thing that you don't really see. Other than public events, but this was like a crazy, I don't know, look it up. It's the only time it's ever happened in the game.
What was it? Like,
Something happened, something drastic happened.
is anyone gonna heal me? No. We don't have a single healer. There we go.
Bro, can I fucking get up this damn thing? For the love of God. I have a meta build on right now. I've optimized all of my builds. I have crazy stats. I'm done with the game. There's nothing really to chase.
Yeah, that's kind of. I'm gonna
Except
die
for-
because there's no fucking healer.
Except for...
Well, I say that's kind of where I'm at with this. There's so much stuff left for me to do, I just don't fucking do it. Like, there's all the antiquities and crap like that. My builds are getting to the point where they're gonna be as optimized as they could be without doing trials and shit like that, but I tend to avoid that anyway, because most of the trial sets are really only useful for, well, trials.
True. Yeah, this, for vanity's sake, it's pretty much... Like I said, if the raid that returns is from Destiny 1,
What?
they may gain quite the audience.
What is our healer? What is he? He's a Fucking warden. He should be able to heal. Why ain't he healing? Fuck. What the fuck was the point I was trying to make? Oh yeah. The Destiny franchise, like all the plot lines of the different planets and shit, and DLCs more specifically, really kind of just boil down to it's like a loosely connected universe where a lot of the stories are their own self-contained little plot lines that kind of add like world building to certain things. But in terms of like light versus dark, it's like, what do you mean, dude? Yeah. Like this. Really, in Lightfall, this is the first time we're getting any real sense of what the darkness is. And how, I guess it is just the witness, right? Is that...
Yep,
that's what I've heard.
The witness.
The witness is just the darkness? Like, that's it?
There's the veil.
Yeah, the veil. We don't even know what the fuck that is yet, because they didn't say. That's what I mean, like... It's all so vague and
it's
up
always
to
been
interpretation.
It's always been vague. It's,
But it makes the story hard to follow, especially when there's so little to begin with. And then when they do finally start adding story, they make it as convoluted or far too simplistic.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's like a jumbled mess. They really had a good thing going with Witch Queen. They really should have kept that up.
Yeah, Witch Queen was great.
Yeah, it's a shame.
It is.
Like,
it is.
It's a shame they couldn't. It's a shame they couldn't maintain that, because that was so good. But as we saw with their little TED talk that what's his name did, it's very clear that they're on that revenue stage.
Yeah. They on that roll of money, son. And they got 2 years, 3 years left on Destiny, maybe.
Yeah, because they're running out of plot stuff, and more specifically, like, they're coming to the end of the story.
People are just gonna be done with the game. Like, they're gonna replay it for only so much time, knowing that there's nothing else coming out.
Yeah.
At least I outlived that accursed cat.
Well, yeah, that's kind of the problem. Like, even with this game, like, this game can't have that much of a lifespan left. Just like Fallout 76, there's no fucking way that game has that much of a lifespan left with the dwindling player count that it has. Like, I would argue that ESO's player count is relatively healthy, but in terms of active, committed players, I feel like that is actually lower than most MMOs right now, probably. And like 76 is on the chopping block up until, because I like what there's a Fallout show coming to Amazon, right? That more
fun.
likely, yeah, we'll see. More off, like, I guarantee you that show's probably gonna be bad. Mostly because it's, you know, Amazon. Amazon doesn't really make too many good shows. Like, Mrs. Maisel was alright.
Yeah.
Yeah, because that was a low-budget comedy personal story. That's something they can handle. What they can't handle is anything with a budget. Anything with, like, The Boys, more often than not, they're really overdoing things, and, like, cinematography-wise, not great. Very bland.
Yeah.
Very bland, and then of course the writing has gone downhill with that show significantly. Not that the source material was the greatest thing in the world, but they certainly fucked up by not doing certain things.
No, I feel you there.
But The real problem is that like it's just going to be too big of a project. And which Fallout are we talking? Are we talking Fallout 76, Fallout 4 Fallout, where everything's a joke, blah blah blah, terrible humor, kid in a fridge kind of comedy? Or are we talking like Fallout 1 dark comedy, where it's like, yeah, this sucks, but hey, we can still get a laugh out of the terrible situation that we're in type of situation?
Yeah.
I don't think they're going to do Fallout 1. I think they're going to do what everyone knows now, which is bad Bethesda Fallout. Which is unfortunate. Because I would like the Fallout show to be good, but like, what the fuck would it even be about? Like, the only Fallouts that really have a good, tangible, coherent story, as in like, something that could work for a movie, would be something like Fallout 3. Fallout New Vegas, Fallout 4, unfortunately. You know what I mean? Like, Fallout 1 doesn't really have that great of a storyline. Like, most of it is, like, you playing the game and adventuring through the wasteland and seeing just how fucking shitty it is. That ain't gonna work too well for a show. So I feel like they're gonna come up with their own thing. They're definitely going to come up with their own plot, their own story.
No kind words for me, Reynald.
Still your
But
time. Your death is the one good thing to come of this.
I go, knowing the war for freedom
But
only brought you ruin.
But I think the show, depending on whether or not it succeeds or fails, will also determine whether or not Fallout 76 continues to exist. Because that show comes out, what, soon? Like next year or something like that?
Soon,
and that's
yeah.
a big if the writers and film actors strike prevents it from continuing to exist. That I'm unsure of. Like, I have no clue how that's going to affect things. But I do think that that show will determine whether or not 76 continues to exist. Because I think the only reason 76 exists currently is the same reason why ESO exists currently. It is a means to say that, yes, something new Fallout came out. You know, look, Fallout as an IP is still relevant.
It's still
you know,
alive.
look,
Well, yeah,
this,
you're able to
yes,
sell it to the
yeah.
shareholders.
This thing's coming out. Look, we've got Atlantic City. And with ESO, it's like, look, we've got a new DLC every year, at least. At least. As ESO, for a very long time, it was churning out content. And that was both a good and bad thing.
You're dead.
It's a bad thing because now everybody has... see you, Jason.
So, yeah.
It was a bad thing because... It basically made it so that everyone is now, what's the word? Conditioned. Everyone is now conditioned to expect, like, at least 2 major content dumps a year.
Please
Right?
don't
Like,
talk
they
to me
expect...
like
They expect two new zones, 2 new world spaces a year, at least. Right, and this is the first time where we're getting 1. Because 2015 was an interesting year. Right, because like ESO initially was kind of a bit of a failure. Because it launched in 2014, 2015 with... I guess it was 2014, right? Yeah, because the beta was in 2014, and I guess it launched like that early year of 2015. But it was initially a subscription-based game.
Yeah.
And that did not last long. Because it was a subscription-based game, and it was on the PC only, and then in 2015, like, I guess the middle of 2015 or something, they brought it onto the consoles, and they took away the subscription-based aspect of the game. And instead, in its place, they put ESO Plus.
That's right. Yep. Yeah.
And I think that was a great
remember that.
decision. That was probably the best choice they could have made. Because that means that a bunch of people are more willing to play the game if they just have to buy it and not have a subscription-based thing. Because that's honestly one of the things that kills most of these games, right, is having that subscription-based thing. It is a steady stream of money, but I think what we're finding now is that a lot of people are willing to shill out that 15 or 10 or however many dollars a month it is. Like with ESO, it's 15, and I do think that is an absurd price, but I'm still willing to pay it because I put a lot of my time into this game.
Yeah.
I'm willing to pay that money in order to get, I don't know, something nice out of the store, and also to save my fucking time. I get double bank space, I get double housing stuff, even though I almost never use that, but for a lot of people that's a great value. I
Great
get
value.
double transmute crystals, which is a fucking fantastic value. Holy shit. Because otherwise you would have to go and spend that shit more. And I'm at my cap. I'm at my limit of transmute crystals because I've been doing so much PvP and dungeoning that I've just filled my fucking stash. So now I do actually have to go and spend it. But it's like, that's a good thing. That's good, because otherwise I'd be doing that like every fucking week instead of, you know, after a big PvP event where it's filled my bank because I've been killing so many people. And you get the double bank space, you get the crafting bag, which is a fucking godsend. Because that makes it so that, you know, you don't have all of your fucking crafting materials in your inventory. And I think the whatever Bethesda C team they have on 76 definitely learned those, whatever ZeniMax did was like, okay, this is what we're going to do for Fallout as well, because it's the same fucking system. In Fallout, if you buy Fallout first, same price, $15 a month, outrageous for that game. Yeah, that's crazy. Oh, and that's the other thing. ESO Plus gives you all the fucking DLC for free. For free, with the exception of whatever the newest chapter is. But that will also eventually, inevitably get added to your package once the next chapter comes out. And it's like, you know what? That's pretty good like, for $15 a month, I get all of the DLC. That's fucking nice. That actually makes it a worthwhile price. Yeah. Like, it's just a good deal. And I have not unsubscribed, like, at all. It's just that good of a deal. The Fallout First thing, though, like, it did the same thing, where it has a specific bank for all of your crafting materials, it has a specific bank for ammunition, so that your actual stash can just be filled with junk, like, you know, weapons and armor and shit like that, you know, things that you're probably going to want to sell, and the other stuff, you know, it acts as a separate container. I'm sure it still has a limit, but it's better than your bank constantly getting filled, because, like, playing 76, my bank is always full. It's fucking annoying. I hate it. I despise it. Because I can never get rid of the stuff fast enough, and it's a fucking chore to get around. But I ain't paying $15 for that shit. Absolutely not. And that's the other problem, is that, like, 76 has done, like, more gross FOMO shit than ESO has. Because at least with ESO, like, they don't have... I mean, they do have some exclusive, like, ESO Plus stuff, but it's never anything substantial. Like, it's always, you get a little statue that you can put in your house. That's literally it. Otherwise, you'll get, like, a pretty decent discount
like that
on Destiny.
Yeah, the tribute hall. We used to have, like, a trophy room.
I know Warframe was doing stuff like that, too. God, that's another game that probably has a similar problem to this, where it's like, man, when is it gonna end? I feel like Warframe feels like one of those endless games. Like, it actually will never end. Whereas ESO, that's a game where it's like, this should probably end at some point. And ESO does a lot of things that are really stupid. This is one of the things that I actually like about Destiny, but I'm not exactly certain on how they handle it or what they do. But this is one of the things I like about Destiny is that it has a story. Let me rephrase that. It has a concept of time. Destiny has a concept of time that ESO simply does not, or at least simply does not anymore. Right? So, Destiny 1 took place in Destiny 1, right? And all the events happen in a proper sequential event sequence. As in, you do the first missions, you talk to the stranger, you fight the Black Garden, or whatever, and that's it, right? And those events happen first. And then you go and do Crotebane, and then you do, what the fuck came after that? Wolf Den of Wolves? Wolf Den? The fuck was it called? What was the third DLC? Wolf Hunter? Wolf
TMS
Den of
Den?
Wolves? Something like that.
Wolf.
I don't remember.
Yeah.
I actually don't remember a thing about that DLC other than it
Den
was
sounds
wolf
about
related. Because it had something to do with the Fallen. That's all I remember. Like, that was actually, you can skip this. Like, nothing happens. You can skip it. Because that was the one that introduced... No, it wasn't. Right? No. That didn't introduce the Awoken area, right? Or am I fucking crazy?
I don't know.
I don't even fucking remember.
No. Because that was Destiny 1.
Yeah, Destiny 1, yeah. They had... Yeah, that's where... Because remember, that's where we go to do... Kexis, the Betrayed, and we talked to Varix. Varix was a part of the something of Wolves DLC, right?
Yeah, but the place you're talking about, the Dreaming City, wasn't in there.
No, I'm not talking about the Dreaming City. It was like a shitty little outpost in like the unknown regions or something like that, right?
The Reef.
That's the Reef. Yeah, the Reef.
Reef Maid.
Yeah, that's where the Queen and the Queen's brother live. I remember.
That's where
Yeah.
we expected the doors to
House of
open
Wolves.
one day.
House of Wolves. That's what it was called, right?
Yeah,
Or am I
that
fucking
sounds
insane?
about right. Yeah, that
Yeah,
sounds about
House
right.
of Wolves. So that introduced a story element, and then immediately Oryx removed it.
Yeah.
But, you know, those events happen first, because you can't go and talk to the Queen's brother after they both die. You know? Or at least we thought they did, because Oryx absolutely fucking killed them in that cutscene, but whatever, that's fine. They're alive. Who cares? You know, and then after Oryx, you do Rise of Iron, you talk to the black guy, totally not Saladin,
Yep.
and yeah, you go from there. And then you go to Destiny
Emperor
2.
Lord Saladfish.
You go to Destiny 2, you fight Bane. I don't remember his name, I just know he has the Bane mask. You fight the...
Goiter Fountain 992.
Was it Goiter? His name was like Goiter, right? Goid? Gord? Gore?
Oh, no,
The fucking...
I'm pretty sure that's not what it was. I know you're talking about, though. That was, like,
Yeah,
the Red
the
War
white...
shit.
Yes, the Red War specifically.
Yeah.
They kill the Speaker of the House, and then... Yeah, that's the end of the game.
Yeah.
And then from there, it was... Osiris comes back. I don't remember.
Osiris
and then,
fucks everything up.
And then Ea Brea from Parasite Eve shows up.
Yeah.
And then Cade dies. Right.
Who?
Long story short is there's a sequence of events that happens in the storyline of
Yes,
Destiny
yes.
that you can narratively follow. ESO no longer has that. And
Yeah,
I hate it.
they've outlived their lifespan.
I'm not even, like, they
You
they
know it to be true.
well, no, for sure. I think because, like, when I look at the map is almost full. There are very few places we have left to go on the map. This game has a finite lifespan. As in, you can only keep making content as long as there are places to go. And we're running out of places to go. So, like, you gotta really choose your new locations wisely. Because they already basically... they already made a DLC out of a location that has never been used before and is a small cluster of islands. So it's like, you chose to do that before you even touched more of the massive land mass that we have on the actual continent. You chose to go off and do some islands first? Like, come on now, that's ridiculous. You could have waited to do that until we were genuinely out of content. And then, had that final Hail Mary. But whatever, that's fine. But, yeah, ESO did originally have a timeline. It was set in a specific year. I don't know, does Destiny have years? Do they imply that time passes?
I don't...
Like, I definitely think it implies that time passes between Destiny 1 and Destiny 2.
It does imply that time does pass, yes.
Because your character takes a vow of silence between Destiny 1 and Destiny 2, and he only breaks it once Cade dies. Which is still bizarre to me. But it.
That is very weird.
It is weird. That was just a weird creative decision
upholds.
they made. Yeah, right.
But goes back to the monastery. The Brotherhood of Monks.
Yeah. But yeah, it's implied that time passes in Destiny. I would assume that it's implied that time passes even between the DLCs, right? And with ESO,
fair enough.
The game starts with a specific date. It starts with the year 2E582. Right? That's like the second year of the war, effectively. Because the war started in like 5E...
In the year of our Lord?
Jesus. The war started in 2E581. Yeah, the year of our Lord. And throughout the entire base game, right, the initial 5 zones of your alliance. So actually, really, within 15 zones of the game, plus Cold Harbor, so 16 zones of the game, plus Cyrodiil, so 17 zones of the game, it is 2E582. Even through Craglorn, it's kind of hinted that it is still 2E582, but there are no hard dates in Craglorn. In fact, Craglorn explicitly implies that the plane meld, the main thread of the base game, has ended. Because there are a shit ton of dolmens littering the ground and none of them are active. Implying that, yes, you succeeded, the war is over, or not the war is over, but the Daedric threat has stopped, right? And that's it. And then you go to Hrothgar, which is the first real DLC. And same thing, there are dolmens all over the place, none of them are active. Because the plane melt has been stopped. And there is a journal that explicitly states that it is now the year 2E583. Heavily implying that time passes.
Yeah.
So, not even heavily implying, outright stating that it is officially a year later. And in fact, there are books in certain regions that will actually tell you a good
Don't tell me.
that give you a good bearing on time. Like I think it was heavily implied that the start of the game is literally at like the beginning of the year or something like that. I could be completely mistaken on that, but I forget where I had that basis from. But there are books in the third regions of the game that basically state that, yeah, it is what March is like the third month, right?
Yes.
Yeah, so it's Rain's Hand, so that's March. So yeah, it's like the third month of the year when you get to the third region.
Okay.
And that implies that there is a state of time. That would also imply that by the time you get to Hrothgar, that like pretty much an entire year and a half has passed, or basically no, like a whole year, because the date in Hrothgar is also Rain's Hand, but it's 583, not 582. So that implies that it would basically have been a whole year to get to that point. So
I can
time passes
that.
in the game, yeah. Then the developers abandoned that concept.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Yeah, they abandoned that concept once they really they kind of abandoned it in Morrowind because they never made any real strong date references. But like
No.
time was clearly passed because no one's talking about the plane meld. No one's, really concerned with any big Daedric threat because, there isn't one going on actively. People still refer to the war, but very vaguely. And not a single person makes reference to the fact that in the Orsinium DLC, our character completely destabilizes the Daggerfall Covenant, which is one of the main alliances in the war. You would think that one of the three races in this literal race war that's going on, dropping out, would have a massive negative effect on that particular side of the war. But not a single person talks about it or references it or has talked about it since. That's insane.
You think that there's one owed to them for it?
Yes. I would hope so.
Well, if the people demand it.
But Morrowind makes no references to date. Somerset also makes no references to date. Like, time is just not referenced from that point on. And then I think when Elsewhere came out, and they were like, yes, Euraxia Tharn and her occupation of Rimmon, it's the city, has been going on for 7 years or whatever. And then people looked at that and they said, hey, wait a minute, what? That's not how...
What's wrong?
That's not how time works. Because Euraxia Tharn's occupation of Rimmon occurred in a very specific year that has a date tied to it. And then when the developers, not just the developers, but characters in-game reference that date, and they still say that it's been 7 years, even though technically, if we're considering how time works, because while there is no year date assigned to any of the journals and stuff that you can find in Somerset and Morrowind, there are absolutely month dates applied. And if we were to follow those month dates, that would imply that another year has passed by the end of Somerset. At least. Because within Clockwork City DLC, there are journals that lead all the way to Sun's Dusk, which is effectively like December. Or no, Evening Star is December. Sun's Dusk is like November. Which implies that, yeah, we're basically on the cusp of another year. By the time Somerset happens, it'll have been another year. That's why it's so strange. Because they don't reference that time. So instead of, it should have been 9 years, right? Euraxia's occupation should have been 9 years, not 7. But the game, the developers then made the bold claim that all events in the game take place in the same year, 582. That's physically impossible. Absolutely insane, wild, batshit stuff. Like, how hard is it to just say, yes, there is a linear plot line to the game? How hard is that? just do it. Just
Sounds pretty
fucking
hard.
say that. I mean, fucking Destiny
Sounds
does it.
damn near impossible.
It's really not, though.
I know. I'm exaggerating.
I don't know. They made it unnecessarily difficult for no reason. And it is quite infuriating as a result.
So
And I do
I'm all for
kind of
like bringing content back and all that, but there's also been talks about enabling contest mode whenever you like.
what is contest mode?
So contest mode is basically, I think you're 40 under level always.
Oh,
It's what day one rating is undergoes. Day one rating, you're capped out that everybody's the same level. Everybody, does the same damage with the same weapon. Um, Enemies hit a lot harder and are shielded. There's fucking champions, which you have to have. Uh, uh, you have to have these mods equipped through a seasonal artifact, which can only be leveled up via XP. So you can only unlock things,
Working a huge stone.
special abilities, things like that through a grindy type model. However, we no longer have that power level grind, and contest mode wouldn't even matter anyway.
right. Because if everyone's at the same level anyway, why does it matter?
So they're
Yeah.
thinking about introducing that with every piece of content, like even strikes. You can choose a strike, and it's contest level strike where it's even harder than Grandmaster, which are the hardest activity in the game, other than maybe Master Dungeons.
Right.
Raids are super easy. But yeah, it's everybody's at the same level. There's no incentive to continue playing the game.
Yeah, especially if the story stuff isn't, like, at the forefront as a big, oh, explodes.
Dado said some shit.
Yeah, Dado says a lot of shit, though.
And Dado does say a lot of shit. But I think he was just expressing the community's stance on how it's just we miss a certain level of
player retention.
That and player activity, because there's no real incentive to play the game anymore, except for unlocking or like the seasonal artifacts that are just mods that make your make a couple of random subclasses super strong, super meta for that season.
Yeah, for that season
For that
specifically.
season, yeah. So I think next season it'll be like stasis and fucking solar.
Hmm.
Because this season was void and
Strand.
void. Yeah, void and arc. Also strand, but strand is brand new, so it's gonna be there all year.
Yeah.
So they're showcasing these subclasses that very few people use on a normal basis. So a lot of people just run their normal, solar warlock or uh, solar titan or
Hmm.
void hunter, and then now
Yeah,
they're
the
they're
usual.
kind of forced to play another style because it's it puts less of a dent into their build stat slots. But in some cases, like this one, you stumble across a build that you didn't expect to come across as any good, and it stomps. But next season, it may not, because it's art.
Yeah, that's an interesting way to do the balance thing, because that to me sounds a lot like what happens in this game, where with basically every fucking content
No
drop
word on the
also
Blessed All's
implies a
whereabouts?
significant
Not
shift
yet.
in the meta,
When the Weavers begin to
because they
close their ears
constantly
to
go
Right.
Zalbar's
in
teachings of
and
patience
make
and
alterations to
moderation.
certain
Don't
things,
worry yourself.
whether it's for
Today
quote
is a
unquote
glorious
balancing the healthy gameplay
for the All's
mechanics
recovery.
and blah blah blah. Like they made a change to damage over time abilities, right? Effectively, what they did was they doubled the duration of every damage over time ability. Sounds great. Sounds really good. Uh, it damages like every 2 ticks. So every 2 seconds it'll do that. I was like, oh fuck, that sucks. Like that's like if you just said you doubled the damage of it, that'd be fucking fine. You know what I mean? Because like damage over time abilities, they're so short, right? Like these things last for maybe like 10 seconds or like 8 seconds most of the time. And
Right.
like that's pretty short, but it is like a lot of damage at once, right? Because it's crowd control. You're controlling the crowd by like having this area of damage most of the time, as that's what it is that it is an area of damage that, don't fucking stand in that red circle, you idiot, you know what I mean? Now it's you can stand in there a little bit, as a treat. Because you're not gonna get fucking hurt if you're on the off tick. You know what I mean? And it doesn't tick fast enough.
I'll need you. Something else, friend?
But now every ability lasts like fucking 20 seconds. And yeah, sure, it's easier to maintain, but it also, like, the damage output is significantly lessened because, honestly, you might as well just fucking proc the ability again once you've hit that halfway point, because it's just taking too long. You might as well refresh the ability. That's the real problem. That's the real issue. Is that they didn't really do anything to improve, damage outputs or to balance damage outputs. They just made combat take longer. Nobody wants combat to take longer. That's the whole fucking point. Like, why are we shooting for these massive fucking damage numbers, right? Like, my Nightblade, right, my main character Nightblade, who I've converted into a PvP character, because I'm not going to be using him for story stuff anymore, because he's the wrong class.
Color.
Yeah, literally, he is the wrong color.
Should he be cautious?
Yeah. Yes. So,
Solves that.
the main issue is that his damage is the highest it has ever been. In the entire time I've played this game, it's the highest damage number I've reached. Right? Like, normally his damage is around, like, because I remember back in the day, right, like, 2,800 was pretty high damage for me. And 2,800 was pretty much the staple. They've made a lot of changes that made high damage just way easier to acquire. So when they made that change around like 2 years ago, my damage shot up from 2,800 being the average to 3,900 being the average, or basically 4,000. And it's like, yeah, that's pretty good. That's pretty high. With the adjustments I have made to my set and my loadout in general, his damage went from like 3,900 to 6,600. And with all of his damage buffs active, he shoots up to 9,900, which is an insane... that's not even the highest you can get, but that is an insane damage output. Like, that's fucking wild. And the fact that I'm able to accomplish that damage and, like, actually melt people in PvP now in, like, 3 arrow shots, that's a great fucking feeling. That feels fucking great.
To make that build.
Because I took the time to make that build. I don't know how long that's gonna last. Because any update
another
now,
month or so,
they could turn around and fuck me. Because they have done that to other characters that I have, where it's like, wow, my build is fucked. Now, looking at this next update, I'm actually getting a massive buff. Because, like, it seems to me like they're really concerned about people pressing too many buttons in this game. That seems to be the main problem. Like, with that, the instance of why are
accessibility?
I don't know if it's accessibility, more or less ease of access, I think is what it is. Making it a much more easy thing to do. Like, lowering the skill gap between high skill players and low skill players. By trying to make it easier to play the game by just not pressing buttons.
Okay, so handicapping.
Effectively, yeah. So there's an ability that Nightblades have.
Yeah. Makes sense.
That you have to activate it first, right? It's an ability that Nightblades have. You activate it, and every time you hit an enemy with a light attack or a heavy attack, you will gain a stack on that ability. And once you hit 5 stacks, the ability changes into another ability, and you fire off like a spectral arrow, and it does like an absolute butt fucking shit ton of damage. Like, on my currently buffed Knight, it does like 19,000 damage or something crazy like that.
That's a lot of damage.
It is. That's a lot of people's health bars in some cases. Like whole health bars.
When are you gonna fucking play or get Elden Ring? Damn it.
Oh, I don't know. I have no idea. Maybe when all the DLCs are out.
Yeah, okay, so 4 to 5 years from now.
Ain't gonna be 4 to 5 years. I am curious. I haven't heard any other news about that DLC aside from that one picture they showed. So I'm curious when that's coming out. But the fuck was I saying? Oh yeah, it changes, and you know that's it. So they're in the next patch. They're making a change so that you don't even have to activate the ability. You just have to have it slotted, and every time you light and heavy attack, you'll just build stacks, and then you can fire it off.
Stacks, man.
That's it. Because before, what you had to worry about was, because the ability lasted for like a full minute, but if you don't get enough, heavy attacks and whatnot in time or whatever, it'll just run out. And that does happen sometimes. Sometimes you're too focused on doing other things that you forget to keep track of that ability, and then you have to activate it again. Now, the nice thing about it is that it does save your stacks for one refresh. So if you, forgot to fire off the arrow, you can still fire it off. You know what I mean? You could still build those stacks if you didn't hit 5. But now that it's just going to be always on, you don't even have to worry about that. It's actually just taking away an aspect of the ability, which was the management part, and making it so that you just keep light and heavy attacking, and then you'll just have this high damage output ability, free of charge.
Nice.
I think they did say they were increasing the cost of firing it, but that ain't shit. That's a 15,000 damage at base, unfucked with ability. That's probably one of the heaviest hitting abilities in the game, and you're just making it free of access. And I think the reason they're doing this because with the Arcanist class, right, the new class they added, it has a bunch of new shiny features that are a lot like that. And that probably has something to do with why they're making all of these alterations to certain classes, right? That's why they're making that change to the Nightblade, because the Arcanist has an ability that is basically like that already. I don't know what it is, because I haven't played it. So I like that they're making retroactive changes, so that not this one class just has all this utility, but every class will have that same utility shared, at least in some aspect.
Quality of life stuff.
Yeah, so it's making my life easier because I no longer have to press any buttons. But it's man, I can see how some people would be kind of mad about that, because it's that's just free damage right there. Because that ability also boosts your damage with every consecutive stack by 5% or something like that. That's crazy.
That's free damage.
That's insane. It is free damage.
It's free damage.
There is also a ability on the Nightblades that when you slot it, it increases your movement speed by 10%, which is a lot. I actually have my movement speed on my main guy so fast that he sprints by default.
How much is it?
His movement speed is probably buffed by 40% now. Something crazy like that. When he sneaks, he runs full speed. That's how fast he is now.
Lightning
and when he runs normally, he sprints. And when he sprints, he's Usain Bolt levels of speed. It's fucking goofy to look at. But I'm faster than most people's horses on foot.
That's gotta be fun.
It is fun, actually, because it means I can catch up to people in PvP and just never leave them alone. Problem is, if they're tougher than me, they can kill me in half a second, because I'm pretty weak otherwise. But that's most Nightblades. They can't take a lot of damage, but they deal a lot of damage. That's the fucking point. But that ability now, because it used to be if it was on the, how you can switch weapons and shit. So if it was on that front bar or whatever, it would only affect that front bar. So right now, I can only sprint super duper fast if I have my greatsword out or my swords out, because that's where I have that ability. In the next update, it won't matter. As long as I have it slotted, it'll affect both bars. And I'm assuming that this is something that is going to carry over to most abilities. They're just rolling it out slowly. At least I would hope, because that's pretty busted if that's how it's going to be from now on. That's really busted. There's no real reason for it to function like that. Because that's a lot of damage, really. to the actual balance of the game if they're gonna do it that way. Because there's a lot of abilities that offer you some sort of passive bonus, and if this one ability,
constant new influx of people to get, you gotta make it somewhat easier for them to catch up.
well, I mean, yes, I get that, but that's also one of the other issues is that they're almost catering to the new influx of people too much.
Yes.
That's what I was getting to with the year-long, or the fact that everything takes place in 1 year. They did that so that people wouldn't get confused. Because they constantly do this big marketing push, right? Really, it's just a way to monetize things better. Is to, every time there's a new chapter, right? Like, let's say you buy the Necrom chapter, and this is your first time playing the game. It's going to throw you into Necrom first. Right? It's going to throw you into the brand new, good-looking part of the game. And then you go back to the base game, and it looks like piss. And it looks like it was made in 2014, because it was. And then you look at Necrom, and it was made in 2023, and there's, like, actual detail in the rocks, and there's texture, and, you know, things actually look pretty good, you know, passable. And then you go back to the base game, and there's, like, flat textures on armors and shit, and it just looks bad. It's like, man, what the fuck? But I really do feel like that's the biggest mistake they're making right there, because then people won't want to go back to those places. If you start people in the brand new, good-looking areas, they're not gonna want to spend time in the shittier, bad-looking areas. That's why I think the game should start, one, where the game fucking starts in the beginning, in the more simpler areas, so that people actually don't get confused by the story and what's going on and who's this and who's that. Because there's returning characters. Like I said, there's this character here in this event, for no fucking reason, who is acting like her 2014-2015 version of herself, and not like the new modern 2016-2023 version of herself, who acts not completely differently, but like definitely has, like, things have changed, like writing and character wise. Whereas before, the first time you meet her, she's a novice assassin who still has a master assassin teacher teaching her type of shit. And then in 2016 rendition, oh, I'm 100 years old and I've killed like hundreds of people, blah blah blah, and it's like, physically no way. That's impossible. Not in the amount of time that's passed. It doesn't make any sense. But that stuff confuses people. When you have returning characters and you want people's first introduction to the characters to be in this new zone and not the beginning of the game where her story begins, because you meet this, like, Morrowind was actually the worst example of this, where you meet this character Naryu the first time. She's like this master assassin, has an apprentice, is over 100 years old, done hundreds of missions, and then let's say you started in Morrowind, that's the first time you meet her, and then you go back to the base game and you meet her there. She will have no recollection of having ever met you before. And is now an assassin's apprentice, and this is,
This is some Elden Ring shit.
She's still relatively new to things, and then the next time you see her in Eastmarch, which is another base game zone, this is my first solo mission, and it's like, okay, the developers must know how fucking jarring that has to be. Where if you're shoving new players into the newest zone, where you claim time hasn't progressed, bull fucking shit, yes it has. Right? Like, you can't, like, the characters still go on journeys. You know what I mean? Like, yeah. When you put returning characters into the story, that causes a problem. Because then you have to have those characters recall events that you have been through, and you have to have them, and then if if you're a new player, you have to have them just miss out on all of that dialogue. Like, they're
Right.
playing things out of order because they're not going to retroactively remember who you are from the content from 5, 8 years ago. Because they don't. They didn't program any of that in. In fact, on the UESP, it explicitly says Naryu will not recognize you if you play the content out of order. Like,
Jeez.
that's how backwards it is. They want to have, this big, stupid year-long, everything happens in 1 year thing.
Right.
But they can't actually do that because it just physically doesn't work that way. Because there are characters in the game that you have come back. And not just characters, there are plot elements that occur in the game that happen again. And you can't just do that. Like, there are rules to this sort of thing. Right? You can't have it both ways. You can't.
Ba-da-ba-ba-ba.
Yeah, have it your way or whatever the fuck.
Yeah.
It don't work like that. Cuz that makes people confused. It's easier for people to follow a linear story
Makes them scared.
than it is to have people not know what the fuck they're doing at all, and they're just completely confused by what's happening before them.
Makes them
50K, what the fuck?
confuse
Yeah.
a lot of things.
People definitely jacked up their prices. Holy shit. Yeah, those are 8K.
I will gladly pay you Tuesday for a hamburger today.
What am I supposed to tell them? I want a hamburger tomorrow?
You have business.
That's crazy. I'm buying those shoulders right now. I don't give a fuck. They're selling them for 8K? Give me those. Give me those. That's dirt cheap, apparently, if that other guy's selling them for 50.
Say it with pride.
I'll definitely say something. Now is the worst time to be buying anything in the fucking traders right now. Because the event is requiring you to either gain a level or champion point, open a fucking chest, or spend 10,000 gold in the guild traders. And this is the second day of the event. People's prices have already shot up by like 5 times.
Well,
It's actually crazy. Look at this bitch.
at least they have that feature.
Oh, an actual guild trader? Yeah, Destiny doesn't have that, do they?
Nope.
Yeah. I feel like that would kind of fuck things up in that game, though.
Well, we are exposing more players to better, uh, to easier access to more versatile, more powerful gear via
That
an
is true, yeah.
expensive method, and it's through trading up materials.
Well, that's the other thing, right? Like, a long time ago, like 2016 time, they basically kneecapped the economy of the game when they made it so that certain items would become like bound to you, like account bound. So like if you were to equip a certain item, it would just be bound. And they also made it so that certain items just simply could not be traded. So most dungeon gear, you used to be able to buy that shit in the trader. You no longer can. right? So, like, let's say you were a player that simply couldn't make it to Craglorn, or, wasn't good in trials, or couldn't compete in the arenas, but you still wanted to get the gear that those places had. You could buy it in the guild store. That makes sense, right? You might not have access to those areas, right? It's DLC content as well. That was a big thing, because there are DLC dungeons. Maybe you don't have access to a DLC dungeon. Well, you could just buy the gear. They changed that, so now you can't do that. So if you want access to the DLC dungeon sets, you have to have that dungeon so that you can play it. So that's kind of a shitty thing that they did, because I quite preferred being able to just buy the set that I'm looking for. Because when you play a dungeon, you play it a lot, and you get a lot of pieces of armor that you're not necessarily going to use ever, if at all. So typically what you would do with that is, oh, I'm not going to use it, but maybe someone else will, so you would sell it. But now,
We
you just destroy it.
Yeah.
Because it's fucking useless. Now, there is actually a use to scrapping it. Obviously, you get materials back, but there is a sticker book now where if you collect enough parts of the set, you can... Obviously, you destroy, let's say you get some boots of the...
weapon crafting. We got that.
Yes. Yeah, so if you collect enough of the set, it'll reduce the cost of making an item. Blah, blah, blah. And that's a nice little benefit, but they also have curated drops.
Yep.
Now in dungeons, so...
Yep.
It is kind of annoying, though, because it's not 100% curated, if that makes any sense. So there are curated drops for all of the armor. That's it. And, of course, the weapons, but the weapons and rings, like the jewelry and weapons, only drop on the final boss of the dungeon. So what'll happen a lot of times is you'll go through the dungeon, and you will end up getting the entire set of all 3 sets in the dungeon by, your third or second run. Mostly your third run of the dungeon. You will have had the entire armor sets filled out. And then you're just grinding out weapons and rings. And that's what takes the most time. And that's where it's like, man, I wish I could just fucking buy these in the store. And not have to run this dungeon over and over and over again. It's just annoying.
Yeah, that's the way they trap Destiny players too. It's a very rare chance that you get one to drop from that activity, but if you do, you can dismantle it. If you get enough of them, then you unlock the blueprint pretty much.
Hmm.
Which is fine, because you can get enhanced perks on it instead of just what the curated role comes with. You get the enhanced perks of those with some nice synchronization with your loadout. Can be fucking potent and can be a time saver. There's a lot of things out there that can save you the time, but only if you're willing to put in the time to get those fucking things to drop. Like, if you want those to drop from raids, you know how often you have to fucking raid?
Yeah. Well, I'm sure that's how it works in the fucking raids in this game, too, the trials.
Yeah.
If weapons and rings only drop from the final boss, fuck, dude. I haven't even touched a trial in this game, so I don't even know what it's like. But I can't imagine it's fun, since it's a fucking 12-man event. Like, that's crazy.
Insane. That's insane.
Yeah.
Is it all DPS, or is there strategy?
I have no clue. I have no clue what the strategy is. I'm assuming what it is that there's a decent amount of DPS, right? Like, you could probably get away with... I'm sure there are different strategies for different trials, because there's...
What's the communication like?
Probably party chat.
Bro, do you know how fucking chaotic that would be?
With 12 people? Yeah. Oh, I'm sure.
LFG
I have no
and that
idea
shit?
I have no idea what the communication is like, because I haven't experienced one. But there's party chat, there's text chat. I know I should at some point, but like that's also the problem, is that it's the same issue that people have with Destiny, is that
And we should go
nobody
do a Division 2 raid.
Nobody wants to have to fucking teach anybody the mechanics of the raid. You know what I mean? Because it takes...
Blah, 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 blah.
Yeah. And that's how it is with some dungeons. Some dungeons have mechanics that I still don't understand. But we get through it so quickly with, like, a high damage, you know, someone's got, like, a ridiculously high damage, I don't know, sorcerer or some bullshit like that. And then, when it finally gets to the point where, like, I'm in the dungeon with, like, a shit team that isn't doing a whole lot of damage, and you actually have to deal with the mechanics of the dungeon. And I'm like, fuck, dude, I don't know what I'm doing here. Like, normally we just kill the thing before it gets to do anything. So, like, sometimes you can just ignore the actual mechanics. There have been a lot of cases where I do just ignore the mechanics of a dungeon because they don't matter that much. Right? Like, if it's a base game dungeon, most of the mechanics in that dungeon are fucking irrelevant because they don't insta-kill you. Or at least they aren't physically incapable of insta-killing you anymore. Whereas back in the day, they probably insta-killed you all the time. Now, they have actual mechanics in dungeons that just straight up kill you in one hit, regardless of your health or anything. You could have 60k health, which is an insane amount, and like 40k resistance, and it'll still kill you in one hit. It doesn't matter. Right? It is designed to kill you. And there's a lot of things that do that now. And that's just, you know, a means of, like, you gotta do what the dungeon says you gotta do. And it's, fuck off. Right? Like, if I can cheat the system...
Well, that's not the case here. You have to do the mechanics before you can even approach DPS.
Yeah, and that's the thing that kind of really turned me off with the fucking Destiny raids and shit, is that you really have to do the jumping puzzle or do this or do that.
No, the jumping puzzle is one thing. But the actual mechanics of raids are really, really unique and neat. But the ones of the man, I'm just...
Well, that's the thing. I have no idea how it functions in this game because I haven't.
The dungeons
done it. And I know from some of the dungeons that I've done in here, where it's like they have like weird gimmicks to them. Some of them are fun, right? Like if it's a fun gimmick that I can get behind, like there's the whirlpool boss in one of the dungeons. That shit was actually fun. Like I was having a blast, literally. Because you're in a fucking whirlpool and you get to, like, shoot out of a cannon type of deal.
You're
like,
having a blast.
It's goofy fun. And I was like, yeah, I can get behind
considering the fact that I feel like this latest Destiny dungeon was a last-minute call-up from a scrapped raid. Okay.
Oh, like, shit.
I am not a fan. Like, it's bad. At least you get to chuckle and whatnot.
With some of these, yes.
Some 4 to 5 hours.
Some of them are just fucking
bad. Chuckling along.
There were a couple of dungeons that I played recently where it's like, man, what the fuck? Like, some of the enemies are just damage. Some of the enemies are just damage sponges for no fucking reason. And, like, they just eat your attacks. It's like, dude, what the fuck? Or there's a lot of invincibility states and shit like that. Annoying stuff that just gets in the way. Like, just let me damage the boss. Come on. But I'm assuming it would probably be like, I don't know, 3 tanks, 2 healers, 4 damage or something like that. Because healers also typically double as damage. But who knows, really? I have no idea.
Motherfucker.
I find in some dungeons I feel like 4 people isn't enough because they just eat so much fucking damage. Or like the bosses will have like 3 million health or something crazy like that. I'm like, dude, what the fuck? Why do they have so much health?
Yeah. There's a lot of that going on. A lot of games. Just drawn out bullshit.
But if I had to guess, I would say ESO has maybe 5 years left in it. And I know that's a lot,
Yeah.
but I'm thinking in terms of like, okay, Starfield comes out this year.
Reasonable, I guess.
Starfield will most likely have either 3 or 4 big DLCs. Right? Like, they're already advertising a DLC in the pre-order. Which also tells me, okay, that's probably, like, content that was lopped off in development and saved for later and repackaged as DLC.
In view about 4 or 5 DLCs.
But that's probably going to be over the course of...
You think it is that
like,
ambitious,
2
though?
years.
Jesus.
Starfield? Oh, yeah, for sure. Well, 3 to 4 DLCs is like the average amount of DLCs for a Bethesda game. Oblivion had... well, really, Oblivion had its 2 big DLCs, and I say big with quotations. Well, even Morrowind. Morrowind had 2 DLCs, right? Morrowind was their first big open world that had 2 DLCs. You had Mournhold, or Tribunal was the DLC, but it was the city of Mournhold, which was a reasonable space, but not like anything huge. Most of the adventuring was in the fucking sewers, to put it in perspective. And it was a fucking city. It was mostly political intrigue, blah blah blah. You know, mystery stuff. And that was your small DLC, your small main focus DLC, and then you have Blood Moon, which was a big whole island. Blood Moon was basically the Dragonborn DLC, or the Dragonborn DLC was the Blood Moon. It's the same fucking island. So you have this big island to explore. It's a whole new area. It's a completely new landmass, right? Like Morrowind is an ashy, shithole, and Solstheim is like a nice evergreen forest with a cold glacial north end to it. It's like that's a completely different setting. That's fresh, that's new, that's something interesting. And it had a big whole quest. It had a lot of side quests. People really like Blood.
Sounds bloody lovely.
It was, but those were the only 2 DLCs Morrowind had, and that kind of set the precedent of you have a small, quest-focused, plotline, narrative-focused DLC, and then you have a big, ambitious, new lands DLC, right? Your expansion. Oblivion then went on to have... Oblivion was kind of cursed, right? Because that's where Horse Armor happened. Oblivion had a lot of add-ons, which was basically like there were a couple of add-ons that did add quests, but it wasn't anything like super duper serious. Like there was the Mehrunes Razor quest, and there were a couple of quests attached to the homes that were added on. There were like 3 or 4 homes that were added. But beyond that, Oblivion really only had 2 DLCs. You had the Knights of the Nine, which was your small, narrative-focused quest that actually didn't really add any new location, right? At least with Tribunal, you got to go to a new city. You got to go to a new place. Knights of the Nine didn't do that. You did get to, you know, go to, like, some new locations, as in, like, you know, markers on the map, but that was it. And then you had Shivering Isles, which was still regarded to this day as the best Bethesda DLC. Because it is.
Amen.
It is just a great fucking DLC. Everything about it is fantastic. I love it. It's a great, fully realized new world. Interesting plot. Hilarious content. Fun new monsters. Interesting new dungeon designs.
Damn.
It just worked. You know? It just worked. And then that was really it for Oblivion. You had that same, you know, thing. Then you have Fallout 3. And Fallout 3 is also kind of a different sort of game, because it is an open world, but it's more of a disconnected open world, where a lot of it is connected through those subway tunnels type of deal. But it still counts. It still counts. And Fallout 3 is also an interesting case, because in the base game of Fallout 3, you die. You die at the end. So they had to make some changes to the story in order to make it so that you can actually go and do a DLC. Because, you know, you fucking died at the end. But Fallout 3, I think Fallout 3 had, like, what, 3 or 4 DLCs? Because you had Operation Anchorage, which was a weird VR DLC, where your character goes in a VR pod and relives the events of, I say relives, it's a propaganda thing. It's an American propaganda, VR reel, effectively, where this is the training that was given to American soldiers, where it's like, this is what you're gonna be doing up in Anchorage.
Propaganda
And it's all very oorah, like, hey, we're doing it, we're killing the communists type of thing, and everything is just kind of working out a little too well. Obviously, that's not how it happened. But, you know, because the fucking nukes launched. But anyway. That was like, I don't know how to describe it. It was very much a different kind of DLC. It was very much just focused on the shooting and the killing, and less about any of the plot stuff at all.
Is it like a yay the nukes type of deal?
I don't know. Because I have not played Fallout 3. I have not played DLCs. I just know what I know from what I've been told. Operation Anchorage is basically Fallout 3's take on a Call of Duty mission. Weird
good.
DLC. Weird DLC as a result of that. Then you have... Like, I don't know where to slot that in terms of the, you know, the stereotypes, the archetypal DLC category.
Don't even.
But, you know, that's the first DLC, you know what I mean? That's the first one. Then they had Mothership Zeta. Well, I think Mothership Zeta was last, but still. You have Mothership Zeta because it's smaller than the next one. Mothership Zeta was another, I would call it... Unfortunately, it factors into the narrative-focused, small storyline enclosed space. Kind of like Mournhold, where at least you do have a new area to explore, the fucking Mothership. But it's also, like, the worst DLC ever. from what I've been told. I mean, just the fact that we're involving fucking aliens in Fallout, like, that's the DLC we have to that we have to blame for all of this alien bullshit they keep inserting into the games. Because, oh, Mothership Zeta, it's canon, guys, it's canon. Shut the fuck up. I don't want to hear it. It's so dumb every time. It just takes me out of the experience. It's annoying. And then Fallout 76 doubled down on it. Yeah, whatever. That game's barely canon. People are actually suggesting that the entirety of Fallout 76 is a VR experiment. Because in the new PTS server, there's a room that was added to the actual Vault 76. And it's just a room full of VR pods. And that wasn't there before. It's like, why the fuck is that there now? That's actually a little suspicious. I don't know. Maybe they're trying to do a big retcon, like, yeah, sorry guys, sorry the game was bad, none of it was real.
It would make sense for the traversal's sake.
Yeah. Or even for, like, the fact that, you know...
It gets about 12 frames per minute.
Yeah. Or the fact that, like, even 76 has a narrative fucking timeline. Because if you start the game now, I mean, narratively it still doesn't make sense, because why the fuck are you still alive a year afterward, you know what I mean? But it's implied that that first year of Fallout 76 occurred, and that somebody went and stopped the Scorched Beast Plague and did this and that, and that you're a different person from 76. It's actually fucking crazy, but I like that. I like that it's incorporating the lore of the game. You know what I mean? That's what I wish this game did. How fucking hard could that be? You know what I mean? But whatever. If fucking Fallout 76 can do it, anyone can.
Yeah.
And then they had Point Lookout. Point Lookout was the good DLC in Fallout 3. That was your new lands mod. You went up into, I think it was Maryland? I think it was Maryland. Something like that. Yeah, you went into, like, the shitty swamps of Maryland. And, you fought a bunch of, like, deformed hillbillies and shit like that. And people always talk about the Krivbekna and this and that and Cthulhu. Shut up. I also hate that stuff. Like, yes, it's
Cthulhu?
funny Easter eggs. Yeah, it's funny Easter eggs to put it in Fallout, but please stop making it a big story significant thing. Like, no, Cthulhu is not gonna show up at the end of the game and kill everybody. Fuck off. No, the Krivbekna doesn't actually do anything. Stop it. It doesn't matter. It's not plot relevant. It's a side quest, for fuck's sake. Then you've got... I think that was it, right? Those were all the DLCs for Fallout 3, and that was, I guess, the new trendsetter. Where after Oblivion, right, they stopped doing the 2 DLCs every game, and went on to 3. But let me double check that real quick, make sure I'm not missing anything. I am missing a bunch. There are actually 5 DLCs for Fallout 3. I fucking forgot about the... I forgot about the pit.
You'll have to tell me tomorrow, because I gotta go to bed.
Alright.
I need to sleep.
Very
I need to
what
lay
time is
down
it?
for
12? Okay.
Yeah, midnight for me.
Oh, very well.
We'll pick it back up tomorrow.
Yeah. Fucking 5. I don't know how I missed those. Fucking 5 will. I'll forget it again. Dreamhouse. The Barbie patriarchy Dreamhouse. The Mojo Dojo Casa house. Oh boy. I can't wait to lose. Nah, I'm alright. Oh, congratulations. You can keep it. was, was, was the pay it forward? You know what? Why don't you give it to the next person? uh... Just give it to the next person. The next number. They pull it out of like a raffle thing, and you're like, give it to the next number, and it's like, are you serious? You dig through that whole thing of balls just to get the the next number? Yes. Even though he could just say whatever the next number is. Yeah. You have to dig it out. We have to get the camera shot of the ball with a 6 on it, or whatever. Yeah, otherwise it's illegitimate. He could have just said, yeah, he could have just said it. And then we'll know it's fixed, or whatever. The cheat. The cheat. What? Very well. Yeah.
I heard the high.
And they really jacked up those prices. God damn. These things used to be going for like 5,000, now they're all up by 10. Dude, what the hell? Maybe someone didn't get the memo yet, but that seems to be a pretty consistent thing throughout all traders right now. Just jack up them prices. Everyone's got to spend at least 10k. Might as well make them pay 15k. We've learned too much from the game industry, clearly. Because we're just fucking putting another digit on the end of it. Saying, that'll do. That'll work. I feel like if I were to do Silver Rose, it'd be worse. Because most Silver Rose stuff is already pretty high priced, or they just don't have it. Don't have. Nope. I don't think anyone has Silver Rose right now. A real drought.
The shirt looks all right. Wouldn't want to embarrass my fine employers.
What's another outfit style I need? Oh, yeah, what the fuck? I send an order. That's probably gonna be expensive. Send an order. Fuck off. Legs for 240k. Why? Why is that one so hard to come by? Are people just not playing the dungeon? Do the dungeons suck for that one? I don't even remember what the dungeons were for it. It wasn't shipwrights, or was it Coral Airy and shit like that? Maces. Doesn't say how to get. Does it say how to get it? Whoa, 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 whoa! I did not mean to do that. Did I just join this man's guild? Whoops. claws. Holy shit, there's a lot of people in this guild. Remember to keep 30 slots full at our guild store. And then there is no trader. Damn, a lot of these people are still very active. Why does that guy look so familiar? Is there anybody in here that I might know? That'd be funny. Probably not. I mean, this is the thing. 464 people is a lot. This is a big guild. Is the main guy, like, even still playing? What was his name? Rafi? Rafi Goat God? Yeah, I'm getting out of here, bro. I think it's really funny that, like, that I just accidentally fucking did that. That invite has been sitting in my inventory for, like, literally years. And I honestly feel kind of bad, because, like, I've just been sitting on that guy's guild invite. Because that was back when you had to manually invite people to the guild. So you would just walk up to people and invite them to guilds. So you would just have dudes chilling out in Daggerfall and shit. Or in Stonefalls and Davin's Watch. Or in Oridon and Vocal Guard. And just inviting people to guilds. Just randomly. That's what Rio did. That's what I did to an extent every now and then. And I had a couple of these. And, man, I feel kind of bad, because I did, like... Yeah, look at all these pending invites. Yeah, these are all from people. Even this bitch! Holy shit! I know this bitch. How many other people did he get? Dude, that's crazy. That's wild. Orgy coordinator. The fact that you can even type that in is insane. $100K bank access. Jeez, man. So, all of these ranks, with the exception of Loyal Wolf, like, they're all just random. I mean, he hates dues. And there's a shit ton of people in it. Two-pack shack. Ah, fuck me. There's nobody in here that I've noticed that I necessarily recognize. And that's the other thing, is like sometimes you will see character names you recognize, or even, you know, gamer tags and shit that you recognize. Like, for example, Plague Xena being down there. That's a prominent Riften degenerate. So that's why I think that's funny that that's even in there. Well, that was a big whoops. I did not mean to do that. It was a big whoops. Oh, cool. But yeah, that's, oops. Big oops. Oh well. I think I should go to bed if I'm making mistakes like that. Oh no, and look, they're even talking. They shouldn't be talking. Maybe this would make it easier for me to grind out this, event. Oops. I don't have any of the colors customized on this character. Oh, that sucks. So it's all gonna look... Well, it has the guild name next to it. Fuck me, dude. I wish I could see, like, when these were given out, you know what I mean? That thing had... That's gotta be from, like, 2016. That was probably, like an 8 or 7-year-old guild invite that I just fucking... That was a piece of history. A little bit of history was made today. A little bit of history. I finally accepted that guild invite after 9 years. And my controller died. Damn, that... Because that's something I'll never get back. Because those kind of guild invites don't exist anymore. Oh well. At least it's on stream. At least that mistake will forever be cemented on stream. Fuck me, dude. Oh well, oh well. Maybe I'll take advantage of this situation, who knows. But I'm probably going to bed.